You already know more than you think. The problem is, you don't yet know how to read the signs. Because every person leaves clues. And Nietzsche's 18 truths will show you how to spot them and what they mean. This is a skill no one teaches, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't a quick list or shallow advice. It's a full breakdown, split into 3 powerful parts that build on each other. If you skip ahead, you'll miss the depth that makes it work. Stay with me, because by the end you won't just understand others, you'll understand yourself in ways you never expected. From childhood, we're taught to trust words. Words are our currency. But Nietzsche warned, don't be fooled by language. People rarely speak from truth. They speak from fear, from ego, from survival. The surface of a personality is not the real person, it's their armor. The one who seems overly kind may not be kind at all, they may just be terrified of rejection. The one who acts strong may actually be crumbling inside, hoping nobody sees it. And the most deceptive part? Most people don't even know they're doing it. They're actors in a play they never wrote. Their smiles, opinions, and tone are shaped by what once kept them safe. That's why most people aren't hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. Nietzsche once said, "Every profound spirit needs a mask." He wasn't insulting humanity. He was warning us, don't confuse the mask for the person. Here's the truth no one tells you. People leak their reality all the time. Not in their words, but in the cracks. The glance away. The laugh that lasts too long. The quick subject change when things get too close. Nietzsche's first psychological truth is this: everyone wears a mask to survive. Not because they're fake, but because they're scared. To survive society, people build a version of themselves they hope will be accepted. But masks slip. And when they do, the first sign of truth is tension. Watch for what makes someone uncomfortable. That's where the real person begins. Second truth: what people hate in others reveals what they're hiding in themselves. This is projection. The one mocking arrogance is usually insecure about their own worth. The one obsessed with calling others liars is often hiding their own dishonesty. We hate in others what we fear in ourselves. So don't just notice what someone admires. Watch what they criticize, and ask why. Third truth: silence reveals more than words. Nietzsche didn't trust language. He saw it as a tool of the herd, often used to avoid reality. When someone pauses too long, dodges questions, or gives rehearsed replies, their silence is louder than their speech. Avoidance is its own confession. Fourth truth: excessive virtue is often hidden vanity. Beware of those who loudly preach purity, constantly correct others, or showcase their morality. Nietzsche called this the will to power in disguise. Sometimes morality is just superiority wearing a mask. Real goodness doesn't need applause. Fifth truth: people don't lie to you first, they lie to themselves. I'm fine. I'm over it. I don't care. These aren't lies to hurt you. They're lies someone has repeated so often, they believe them. Nietzsche saw self-deception not as evil, but as survival, a way to function in a painful world. So when a story doesn't add up, don't assume someone is scheming against you. Realize they've been fooling themselves far longer. And that's how you find the truth, the inconsistencies. Sixth truth: where someone feels superior, they're hiding inferiority. Nietzsche believed superiority was often just overcompensation. The person constantly reminding you of their success often fears they're not enough. The one who casually puts others down is usually terrified of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't compete, it just exists. If someone needs to dominate or prove themselves, look deeper. Behind the crown, you'll often find a frightened child. Reading people isn't about judging them, it's about understanding. The person who interrupts may not be arrogant. They may fear being forgotten. The one posting endlessly about happiness may actually be in pain. The one avoiding eye contact while saying, "I'm fine," is telling you the truth with their body, not their words. These truths aren't meant to give you power over others. They're meant to give you clarity and compassion. The clearer you see someone, the harder it is to hate them. That was Nietzsche's secret. He didn't want you to see through people to control them. He wanted you to stop being fooled and to start connecting. So if you've ever looked at someone and felt like you were only seeing the surface, if you've ever wished you could decode what's really happening beneath the mask, this is your chance. Let's talk about the moments when people reveal the truth without saying a word. And if this video has already shifted how you see people, make sure to subscribe, because there's much more to come, and you'll want to see the rest of Nietzsche's truths unfold. It's one thing to notice the mask. It's another to watch it crack. If you've ever paid attention, you've seen it. The flash of discomfort when someone's beliefs are challenged. The sudden shift in tone when a subject gets too close. The nervous laugh that doesn't match the words. These aren't accidents. They're clues. And once you know what to look for, you'll realize people aren't hard to read. They're just scared to be seen. In part 1, we saw how people build masks to protect themselves. In part 2, we go deeper, into the places where those masks begin to break. Nietzsche believed the self isn't solid, it's a performance, stitched together to survive the world. And the moment it's threatened, the truth leaks out. 7th truth. Most actions are driven by fear. Think about it. Why does someone over-explain? Why do they dominate a conversation or disappear completely? Why do they say yes when they mean no? Fear. Fear of rejection, failure, humiliation, or abandonment. Nietzsche saw that humans rarely act from pure desire. They act from fear of loss. Status. Love. Self-worth. If you want to read someone, don't ask, what do they want? Ask, what are they afraid of losing? That's where the truth lives. 8th truth. Constant criticism is projection. The man who mocks emotional people is usually terrified of his own emotions. The woman who belittles others for their looks may be at war with her own reflection. Nietzsche said judgment is almost never about the other person. It's about the self. Repeated criticism is not just defense. It's confession. Listen closely, and you'll hear exactly where someone's pain hides. 9th truth. False confidence hides guilt. We've all met the person who always seems sure of themselves, composed, in control, untouchable. But look closer. The tight jaw, the over-preparation, the defensiveness. Nietzsche saw this in leaders, teachers, preachers, people performing certainty because they feared being exposed. Chronic confidence often masks guilt, a regret, a hidden weakness, a version of themselves they're trying to bury. Real peace doesn't perform. So when someone seems too confident, don't be intimidated. Be curious. 10th truth. Exaggeration exposes insecurity. This one is subtle but powerful. When someone loudly insists, I don't care what anyone thinks, they usually care deeply. When someone says, I'm always happy, they rarely are. Nietzsche believed extremes reveal imbalance, not strength. Exaggeration is the ego shouting to cover its doubt. The louder the claim, the deeper the insecurity. So don't focus on the words, read what they're trying to silence. 11th truth. Obsession with control means inner chaos. Some people can't let go. They micromanage every detail, dominate others, fear change. It looks like strength, but Nietzsche saw it differently. When the inner world is in chaos, the outer world must be controlled obsessively. The stricter the outer shell, the more fragile the inner self. If someone craves control, it's not because they're powerful. It's because they're terrified of falling apart the moment they release their grip. 12th truth. Loud performance hides emptiness. This is one of Nietzsche's most haunting insights. Look at the endless performances on social media. The curated lives, the constant updates, the look at me energy. Nietzsche didn't see this as confidence. He saw it as desperation. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. The person who truly knows themselves doesn't need the spotlight, they're already whole. So when someone's life feels like a performance, don't see power. See the cry to be noticed. Now the pieces begin to fit. You walk into a room and suddenly the patterns speak louder than words. You hear someone brag endlessly, and instead of envy, you see the wound behind it. You watch someone interrupt constantly, and instead of annoyance, you notice their fear of being forgotten. You're not reading minds, you're reading the mask. And Nietzsche gave you the flashlight. But with this skill comes responsibility. Because once you learn to see people clearly, you can't unsee it. And you'll realize most people are suffering quietly behind polished smiles. Reading them isn't about leverage. It's about grace. When you see the child behind the critic, the fear behind the bully, the guilt behind the arrogance, you don't get weaker. You get unshakable. And this is just the beginning. Because in part 3, we'll strip away the final layer. We'll explore how childhood wounds echo in adult lives, how envy, silence, and the desperate need to be remembered all reveal the soul. In those last 6 truths, you'll see people with absolute clarity. But here's the most important part: you'll understand yourself. By now, something in you has shifted. You don't just see people anymore, you read them. Not as villains. Not as victims. But as human beings trying to survive with masks they didn't even choose. But we're not finished yet. Because behind every behavior is a belief, and behind every belief is a wound. This final part is about learning to see the soul, the deep story beneath the surface of every person you meet. Nietzsche didn't just point out patterns. He revealed where they come from. Let's finish what we started. 13th truth. No one speaks from logic, they speak from pain. We like to think people are rational. That they argue with facts, decide with reason, stand firm on logic. Nietzsche disagreed. He believed every argument hides an old wound. Someone says, "I don't believe in love. It's just a fantasy." But listen closely, they're not giving you truth. They're protecting a scar. People form beliefs to guard against what hurt them, then justify those beliefs with logic. So when you want to understand someone, don't just ask what they believe. Ask what broke them. Ask what they're afraid to feel again. Their opinions aren't attacks, they're shields. And once you see that, you stop reacting and start understanding. 14th truth. How someone responds to weakness shows their power. Want to know someone's real character? Don't watch how they treat the strong. Watch how they treat the weak. Nietzsche believed strength isn't shown by crushing others, but by restraint. If someone mocks vulnerability, they fear their own. If someone punishes mistakes, it's because they weren't allowed to make any. If someone wins but leaves destruction behind, they're still at war with themselves. But the one who can sit with sadness without running away, who can forgive when they could punish, that person has already won the inner battle. Give someone the chance to show compassion. Their choice in that moment reveals who they really are. 15th truth. The fear of being forgotten drives the need for attention. We've all met the person who demands to be noticed. Every story, every outfit, every gesture screams, "See me." At first, it looks like confidence. But Nietzsche saw it as fear, the fear of invisibility. The child ignored becomes the adult who cannot bear silence. So they fill the room with noise, drama, and performance. Not because they love attention, but because they're terrified of being unseen. So when someone seems too much, don't judge. Ask what they're afraid will happen if they're not enough. Because sometimes attention isn't vanity, it's a cry for love. 16th truth. Attacks often hide envy. One of Nietzsche's sharpest truths is this: people don't always attack because they hate. Often, they attack because they admire, but don't believe they can have the same. Criticism is easier than confession. The one who mocks success may secretly crave it. The one who gossips about freedom may long for it. Envy is just unspoken desire, the soul whispering, "I want that too, but I don't think I'm allowed." If you see this in others, you stop taking hate personally. If you see it in yourself, you set yourself free. 17th truth. People replay their childhood, not their beliefs. It's often said, people don't change. Nietzsche would say, people repeat. A child who was never heard grows into an adult who never listens. A child punished for emotions becomes an adult who hides behind logic. A child who had to earn love grows into someone who performs for it, even in toxic places. People think they're acting on beliefs, but most of the time, they're reenacting the past. If you want to read someone, don't just ask who they are now. Ask who they had to be to survive. Every adult carries a child still waiting to feel safe. 18th truth. Patterns are confessions. This is the final and most powerful truth. People may not say what hurts them, but their patterns always will. The one who ghosts when things get close. The one who overworks to avoid silence. The one who flirts with everyone but connects with no one. These aren't random. They're confessions. They're saying, this is how I protect myself. This is where I was wounded. This is what I'm afraid to repeat. Nietzsche believed that if you learn to read patterns instead of words, you'll hear the truth before it's ever spoken. And when that happens, something shifts. You stop judging. You stop taking things personally. You start understanding. You become a mirror, not a weapon. You see the wound and still choose grace. And that, more than any trick or tactic, is real power. Because in reading others, you remember yourself. Take a moment now. Every truth we explored wasn't just about them, it was about you. Your own fears. Your own patterns. Your own story. The more clearly you see others, the more clearly you see yourself. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new way of seeing. Nietzsche didn't just want us to observe people. He wanted us to awaken. To realize that everything we judge in others lives in us, and everything we admire is something we long to embody. So if this video made you see differently, if you recognized patterns in others or in yourself, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below which of these 18 truths hit you the hardest. Let's build something honest in a world full of masks. And if this spoke to you, subscribe. Because this is only the beginning of learning to see what's hidden, and becoming who you really are.